When we think of the sun, we think of it just in a physical sense, but the sun as a living entity, as a being, is constitutionally the same as a human being, as above, so below, as below, so above. And that the sun has a personality nature to it. It has a soul nature to it. It has a monadic nature to it. And that's what we're talking about when we reference the threefold sun. And the energies of each of those affect individuals and humanity in a different way. So let's, and you'll see how this ties into the solar angels in a moment. Okay, so the physical sun, it's the energetic force of expression that has much to do with the cultivation of the intelligence that makes up our lower nature. It has a lot to do with giving vitality and livingness to our absolute physical existence on this planet. It's the physical sun that is the great conveyor of prana. And prana, as many of you may know, prana represents the living force that enters through our physical bodies to create, to imbue it with a livingness. They are, in fact, they are sometimes, there's a whole category of deva that is the actual transmitters of that. They're sometimes called the devas of the golden hue. Now, having said that, it has a lot of correspondence to humanity as well. And yet you will see here that in this next slide, we have something called the heart of the sun. Now, the heart of the sun is a subjective sun. It's subjective, and sometimes it's called the subjective sun. It exists in the same spatial area of our solar system, but in much subtler substance, just like your causal body is. It's not really up there. Your causal body is right here, but in a deep, deep, subtle, subjective dimension. So too, the same is said of the solar logos. And it's the thing that is triggering the evolution of soul consciousness. So in a certain sense, we could say it this way: when we individually wake up consciously to our soul, we're coming into a conscious rapport with the heart of the sun that's trying to transmit its living nature through that causal body. And it's connected to also what we call the hierarchy of masters. It has a huge influence in relationship to the hierarchy. Okay, so this is the most important slide in a certain sense because this is the origin point of the solar angels. I mean, that's why it's called the solar angels, because it's solar in its origin. And you know, it in a certain sense, it equates to cosmic Christ. In a certain sense, it corresponds to Vishnu in the Hindu tradition. It represents the heart of God. In a certain sense, it is responsible for developing the soul, but it's also responsible for the soul's relationship to the personality, the lower self. It spiritualizes consciousness, or it creates what I call, and I have a seminar titled this, the solarized mind. The solarized, it solarizes one's consciousness as a result of that causal body. It's the conveyor of wisdom, whereas the lower one is generating more knowledge. By the way, that's one of the big differences between consciousness of the causal body and consciousness of the lower vehicles. The lower vehicles, the best they can provide is the experience of mind as knowledge, whereas the causal body provides the understanding of wisdom. Wisdom in this philosophy is what is stored in the causal body, as I mentioned earlier. And wisdom could be defined as love, expressed as understanding, and rooted in evolutionary experience. By the way, the heart of the sun is also more likely to have a energetic influence on the upper chakras, the heart, the throat, and the ajna, and the combined of the ajna and the crown together, which is sometimes in combination, it's called the head, that the head center, that it's the heart of the sun that is ultimately destined to utilize those three chakras as a function of service in the world. And it's also, you know, that, you know, sometimes when you think about, you know, you're living a more spiritual life and you're looking at the world, and if you see the heart of the sun as being the life force that's supporting your causal body, the solar angel, and your soul, I always think of the disciple, that we all sort of learn more and more how to see into the heart of things, to see into the heart of things. It's a kind of interesting way of looking at it. Now, well, let me show you one more step here. There's one more thing that isn't so important today, but maybe a future it will be, is that there's something called the central spiritual sun. That is equivalent to the solar logos's monadic nature, its highest nature. And it has correspondence in our Earth system to the Shambhala. Now, Shambhala in our Earth system is said to be the crown chakra for our planetary deity, which is called the planetary logos, where the heart of the sun corresponds to the hierarchy, which is the heart chakra of the planetary entity.